My producer Megan and I were just discussing right before we went on the air how fatigued we are because of the whole daylight saving thing, but apparently she's not tired enough to remember to throw that thing up every once in a while. Hey, happy Monday, the 15th day of March, 2021. Beware the Ides of March. Ooh. Good to see you. It is the last week of winter. This is it. So the spring equinox will come your way in the wee small hours of Saturday morning, specifically 2:37 a.m. Saturday is the spring equinox, and we're having longer days, dramatically longer days. We'll be above that 12-hour mark by the middle of the week. Forecast, pretty typical mid-March weather, all things considered. A gradual warming trend. We had a real difference between Saturday and Sunday. We were 57 with bountiful sunshine for the most part on Saturday with a few high clouds. And then Sunday, we were 9 degrees cooler. We only got up to 48 degrees on Sunday as a low pressure ridge came in. It's already on its way out. You'll notice it's a little breezy this morning. All in all, not a lot of weather to talk about once again this week. We'll have the forecast details coming up. Also, sports highlights from a very exciting Eastmont Wenatchee football game from Friday night and Eastmont and Cascade soccer from Saturday afternoon. We'll have that when we get to sports. We have a lot of news to get to, as you might imagine. The obscure holiday, one I'll be participating in today, and all the things that you need to start your Monday. We're going to replay the interview I did with Eric West, the marketing manager with Link Transit. As you know by now, Link is doing an online survey. They want everybody, not just Link riders, but everybody to participate as Link considers changes to routes and times and schedules and all that other stuff. The things that you need to know from Eric West will come up in the back half of the hour, 2 minutes after the hour on this Monday. Let's take our tour, see what we got. We do have some high clouds. It's breezy out there. Wind out of the west-northwest at 13 miles an hour. We're at 37 degrees, as you can see, high overcast. We're going to start out with what we have right now, clouds, but eventually they will depart as the day progresses, and we'll in for some fairly sunny weather for the middle part of the week. Sunrise this morning, because the daylight saving is now 7:13, so we're not quite there yet officially. It's about 10 minutes away. Sunset tonight, 7:07, 11 hours and 54 minutes of daylight. By point of reference, 1 week ago today, last Monday, 7 days ago, we had 11 hours and 30 minutes of daylight. So we've gained 24 minutes of daylight in the course of a week as we are underway with daylight saving is now officially here. Camera number 2. We're off to, that's McNeil Canyon's camera, I believe. I get confirmation from Megan on that. As you can see, the snow continues to melt on the Chelan Butte, which is to your left. Lake Chelan, you can see a sliver of it to your right, way off in the distance, is the area up towards Tehican. And in front of you is the top of McNeil Canyon and a beautiful view of the Lake Chelan area. Camera number 3. Ooh, that is got to be Steins. I get confirmation. I can always point out Steins. I always find Steins because I can see the golf course. In the lower left-hand corner of your screen, the Steins camera is moving quite a bit because it is breezy out there. Beautiful view there. So good morning to our friends in Kashmir looking towards the Wenatchee Valley. Looks like they had some more snow melt over the weekend from the top of Steins Hill. And camera number 4. Nanapoc Ridge pays us a visit. Good morning to our friends up at Lake Wenatchee. Obviously still quite a bit of snow up there. And again, temperatures pretty seasonable for most of this week. There is going to be a little bit of a high pressure ridge that's going to come in Tuesday night into Wednesday, which is going to warm us up a little bit. And then by the time we get to the weekend, things will be slightly unsettled. In fact, we do have a slide provided to you from, or for you from the National Weather Service. It's basically a synopsis of the week ahead. And as I mentioned, fairly typical for the middle of March. Gradual warming trend through Thursday. With a little bit of fog and clouds here and there in some locations. And then as we get towards the weekend, we're to cool down, we're to cloud up, could get a raindrop or two for the Wenatchee Valley. As again, it's still March and it's still winter and will be until 2:37 in the morning on Saturday. So that's a good idea of what we're expecting for most of our viewing area for the week. Let's get specific, shall we? From the National Weather Service, here's your forecast. And it looks something like this. Warmer today, 53 after our 48-degree high. We're going to have fairly cloudy skies this morning. As the day progresses, the clouds will depart as a high-pressure ridge begins to make its presence felt. Not going to stick around very long. It's fairly flat, but it's good enough. We'll take it. 31 for the overnight low Tonight, quite a bit of sunshine on Tuesday, a little bit warmer still Wednesday. Thursday, we start talking maybe a little bit of light rain. It's possible starting on Thursday. We're going to see some low pressure disturbances start to slide into the area as the high pressure ridge breaks down and moves away. So fairly mild temperatures Thursday and Friday, but we can't rule out a raindrop. Saturday for the last day of winter, kind of, mostly sunny and a high of 54. The first full day of spring is Sunday. Under partly cloudy skies, we'll get up to 53. For the record, our normal high and low this time of the year, 53 and 34. So as you can see, pretty normal, pretty typical mid-March weather for north central Washington. For the mountain passes, we just have the one advisory, and it ain't Snoqualmity. You're fine there. No advisories, no restrictions. Roadway is mostly bare and wet, but there is a little bit of light snow at the very summit of Stevens Pass, and so they have a traction tire advisory there. It's snowing lightly. There is some snow on the roadway pretty much right at the summit. Your last 3 or 4 miles on either side of the summit of Stevens Pass is when it's going to be at its diciest. Outside of that, it's not too bad, but they still have a traction tire advisory there. And you're fine on Blewett. Clear skies up above. The roadway is pretty much bare and wet with some frost and ice in places. No real significant snowfall at all in the mountain passes until Thursday night and Friday. They could get 3-4 inches of snow on Friday in the Cascades, but for the most part, they'll be dry as far as your driving conditions are concerned for the vast majority of this week. Almost 7 minutes after they are going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have your Monday morning headlines, and there are a lot of them to get to. It's 1 minute away. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
Having a relationship with your pediatrician is so important. Feeling that sense of trust, that is priceless. I tell everybody about CBCH. I love it there. When I make an appointment, I don't have to take an entire day off. As a working mom, my life is really busy. Family time is everything. That's what we all work towards. And I feel like CBCH respects that.
How much are you paying for adult, family, or assisted living? Epladolin Retirement and Assisted Living offers one-bedroom apartments for one affordable price. Their rates are all-inclusive. No nickel or diming or sudden increases, just one set price. You or your loved one will receive good food and excellent care in a relaxed, home-like environment. Stop on by for a tour to see if the Epladolin family is the right choice for you.
Family-owned and operated Epladolin Retirement and Assisted Living in Cashmere. Affordable care.
Overcast skies, 37 degrees. Also a little breezy, partly cloudy today. We'll be in the lower 50s. Bountiful sunshine for the most part Tuesday and Wednesday. Fairly mild Thursday, but a few more clouds and maybe a raindrop by the time the weekend pays us a visit. Here are your headlines. A 42-year-old Leavenworth man was killed in a paragliding accident yesterday morning in the hills about 5 miles northeast of Leavenworth. The Chelan County Sheriff's Office reports that the accident was reported about 10:16 Sunday morning by another paraglider who told authorities the incident occurred about 1,000 feet above Eagle Creek Road near milepost 4. Fellow paragliders performed CPR on the victim until medics from Cascade Medical Center arrived on the scene. The man was declared deceased there. The body was airlifted from the area by the Chelan County Sheriff's helicopter. The identity of the victim has not yet been released. Speaking of Leavenworth, for the second year in a row, the Leavenworth Oktoberfest has been canceled because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Project Bayern, which is the organizers behind the 3-week downtown festival, opted to announce the cancellation now so visitors won't lose deposits on their hotel rooms that get booked well in advance each year. The group says public health restrictions, including social distancing, would make it unlikely that the festival would be up to their usual standards. A Wenatchee woman already charged in a drug trafficking conspiracy case is now accused of stealing more than $160,000 from an elderly relative. Investigators say 67-year-old Deborah Sue Peak has the power of attorney for the relative's medical care and transferred the money illegally into her own accounts between 2017 and 2020. Peak must make her first appearance on the allegations in Chelan County Court on March 24th. She has not been charged in that investigation, but she's already facing trial for allegedly operating a heroin ring out of her home with 3 other men. Peak was arrested in that case last spring. Citing a mental health crisis affecting K-12 students among the COVID-19 pandemic, Governor Jay Inslee on Friday ordered all Washington schools to provide instruction that includes in-person on-site classes. Now, public schools have not had full-time class since March 13th of last year. That's when the governor and the superintendent of public instruction ordered them closed to prevent the spread of the virus. More than half of the schools in the state now have returned to some in-person teaching over the last couple of weeks, but Inslee said that number needs to grow.
Have not been able to thrive as we wish them to do so without on-site education, without that magic connection that enlightens children when they have access to a tremendous educator in a classroom. For them, we're taking action today, and I'm pleased to do so. More than half of our schools have returned to on-site education, but there are still hundreds of thousands of students who do not have access to that relationship with their teacher in person.
What we see in the education system is the effects of isolation and the trauma of what's happened for a lot of our students. In the form of engagement or student attendance, we are unfortunately at every grade level seeing impacts, but especially middle school and high school, where we take a 3-year look every January for the last 3 years and see that attendance, full day of absence, additional absence this year, a spike we have never seen. You extrapolate that over the duration of a school year, you're talking about 9 or 10 more days of absence for the typical middle school student or more, and a very similar pattern in high school. As a result, academically, students are struggling as well.
Now, schools in this state are expected to receive about $2.6 billion in pandemic aid under the American Rescue Plan. Inslee said some of that money should be put towards children's mental health support as they re-enter classrooms. Washington's public health chief went to the other Washington last week, at least virtually. Dr. Umair Shah is the state secretary of health, and he testified before a key U.S. Senate committee at the invitation of Senator Patty Murray. He told the members public health in the United States has gone underfunded for way too long, and it was nearly crushed in the last year by the COVID-19 pandemic.
This pandemic has been horrific in so many ways, yet it is a transformational event. Now is the time to make smart, strategic, and sustained funding in public health infrastructure. Making these investments, we must also address longstanding health inequities. COVID-19 did not start these, but it has made them worse. The inequitable distribution of death and disease means we have seen communities with disproportionate impacts from this pandemic. This is simply unacceptable. To reset, reform, and rebuild, federal investments must prioritize and resource equity. And now is the time for Congress to act. Let me close by saying public health is the invisible offensive line of a football team, and we're not doing enough to invest in that offensive line. We keep focusing on the quarterback. We have an invisibility crisis in public health for far too long. If nothing changes, we'll get more of the same systems without the robust capacity and capabilities to respond to the next emergency. We are truly at a crossroads. Either we can act now and invest in public health, or we act later and overspend dearly to undo that which could have been prevented.
1 year into the COVID-19 pandemic, things are getting brighter overall. More vaccines, fewer new cases, masks, and distancing pretty much everywhere you go. But on Thursday, Washington's epidemiologist said the curve of new cases is no longer declining and new variants are showing up in the state, meaning the coronavirus could be with us for some time to come.
We're moving into a new era of this pandemic. While I initially thought, it's going to be this gradual phase out and the virus goes away, it's not unrolling that way. I think if you look at our COVID dashboard and you look at the epi page, we had a first wave in March, and then it came down to a baseline. The second wave came to a baseline that was higher than the first, and that clearly seeded the third wave, which has now come down to a flattening, which is higher than the previous two baselines. So after every wave, we're having a higher baseline. This sets us up for a continued wave. So I'm very concerned about the possibility of a fourth wave.
We're continuing to detect more cases of the new variants with 99 cases of the B117, one case now of the P1 variant, which I'm going to describe in a moment, and 5 cases of the B1351 variant as of yesterday. So the 99 cases of B117 is up from the 70 cases last week. The P1 variant case is new and is a particular concern. As you know, this has been found in Brazil, and we have some evidence that the strain, not just the concern for spreading more easily, and antibodies from vaccines or previous infection may be less effective against it. So we need to watch this one very, very closely.
It's very concerning. There aren't a lot of P1 variants in the United States, and for us to find one in Washington really shows us that it's a concern. You know, globally, 50% of the cases are in the countries that have the ability to do genotyping. 50% of their isolates are these variants of concern. And nationwide, it's estimated that from the IDM report, that 25% of the isolates from the US are these variants. So I'm concerned. We're at a higher rate post third wave. We're starting to see these variants, including the rarer one, the P1. And I'm really concerned about where this sets us up for the future.
For nearly 6 decades, Washington farm workers have not been eligible for overtime pay, but that could change under a bill that moved through the state Senate last week. Senate Bill 5172 passed 37-12. It follows a Supreme Court ruling that exempting Washington's dairy workers from overtime pay was unconstitutional, and it seeks to put the same protections in place for harvest workers and other agricultural employees. It has to pass the House by mid-April to become law this year. 12th District Senator Brad Hawkins was one of the 12 senators who voted against the bill. And finally, Public Lands Commissioner Hillary Franz got one of her wishes granted by the State House last week. A $125 million funding bill to pay for fighting and preventing wildfires, passing the chamber unanimously. Franz has been campaigning for years for a new permanent funding structure to battle wildland fire risks. The legislation comes on the heels of a historically destructive 2020 fire season. Over 800,000 acres burned, more than 1,600 fires, 298 homes lost, including the near total destruction of the town of Malden. The bill now advances to the state Senate. And that's what's making headlines on this Monday morning. We'll be back at it again today. The whole news crew gathering news so you can be an informed viewer. We'll have a newscast for you at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. Also available on demand with a preview. Here's Grant Olson.
Thanks, and good Monday morning, Dan. Coming up tonight on the NCW Life Evening News, another nice stretch of weather is upon us before maybe some showers by the end of the week. I'll have all the details in your complete North Central Washington weather forecast, and Eric Granster will be in with reactions and highlights from a very busy sports weekend. That and all the day's news coming up tonight at 5, 6, and 10 on the NCW Life Evening News. We hope you'll join us then. Dan?
Thank you, Grant. We'd love to hear from you, our viewers. Look at the bottom of your screen, all the different ways you can get a hold of us. You can email us. You can go to our Facebook page and drop us a note via Facebook Messenger. You can use our website. If you have a telephone, and many people do, you can call us. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a news tip, you know where to find us. 18 minutes after the hour, when we come back, highlights from a very exciting, if sparsely attended, football game Friday night from Wildcat Stadium. Sports is 1 minute away. You're watching Wake Up in Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Live channel.
Homeward bound, I wish I was homeward bound. Home, where my thoughts escaping. Home, where my music's playing. Home, where my love lies waiting silently for me. Silently for me.
20 minutes after the hour, sports. The previous 4 meetings between the Wildcats and the Panthers, those games were decided by a total of 10 points. So, of course, Friday night was going to be another close one. The Wildcats edging the Panthers 10-7 on a 36-yard field goal by Cameron Pope. Now, Wenatchee scored on their very first possession of the game. They went on an 11-play, 77-yard drive with a 17-yard touchdown pass from J.J. Jelsing to Camden Lloydhammer. The teams went into the locker room. The Panthers up 7-0. Eastmont came out in its opening drive in the second half, scored on a 2-yard touchdown run by Corbin Keys, and then the game remained knotted at 7 until 6:48 left in the game. That's when Pope hit what proved to be the game-winning field goal. Eric Grandstrom and Grant Olson had the call right here on the NCW Live channel.
We haven't seen Lloydhammer touch it yet
No,
tonight. I'm
not
surprised
yet.
by that.
He's lined up as a slot receiver to the far side left. They're going to fake the handoff. Jelsing rolling left, has some pressure, steps up at the pocket. Wide open. Lloydhammer, there he is. Touchdown, Wenatchee Panthers. Snap back to him. He'll look to his right, then look back left. Got pressure. He's dropped on the play. Good job coming in on the blitz by Logan Schneider. With 5 seconds on the play clock, with 3, with 2, and I don't know if he's going to get it off. Barely got it off. Pitches over to Keys. Keys tackled on the play. Wenatchee coming up. Obadiah Young is there for the play for the defense. And Jelsing's going to turn and look out. He's going to keep it, though, and nobody sees him to the 15, 20, 25, 30. Up the far sideline he goes. He's got 2 men to beat. He's going to finally be taken out of bounds at about the 45-yard line of Eastmont. You only need a yard. And you got nobody over the center. Handoff. They're going to go around the right side, and this is going to go, well, it looked like it was going to go for nothing. Austin Keys gets loose and then gets up the far sideline and nearly takes out our camera in the process. He'll get a first down to the 19-yard line. How about that run by Corbin Keys? 4th and goal from the 2. Again, the freshman quarterback surveys the defense. Under center, sends a man in motion. They're going to hand it to him. He'll get into the end zone. Touchdown, Eastmont, and we're a point away from having a tie in the first meeting of the year between the Panthers and Wildcats. For Eastmont, and we got a late player coming into the line. The ball is kicked away, and it's good. Now, are we going to get a penalty against Eastmont? I think we will, because Goodmanson was coming into the game late. Now a different kicker will come out, as it'll be Cameron Pope. As they back it up, they'll spot it at the 26. So a 36-yard field goal attempt here for Cameron Pope. Out of the hold of Chance Garcia. Snap back, spot down, kick away, line drive is good. 36 yards on the field goal by Cameron Pope. 4th down and 14. Low snap. Jelsing is back. He collects it inside his 40. Now rolling to his right. Looking downfield, looking for a miracle. He's going to throw the ball, and it's incomplete. And Eastmont makes the stop. Again, the freshman is at quarterback. He'll turn, hand it to Corona. Corona has room across the right side out to the 45. Puts a shoulder down, and J.J. Jelsing gets away from another tackle and finally spun down at the Wenatchee 43-yard line. And a kneel down for the freshman Luke Gale, and the time will wind down, and Eastmont has won 4 in a row over the Wenatchee Panthers as they pull it off and come from behind tonight and win it by a score of 10-7 on the 36-yard field goal by Cameron Pope.
Well, that was another dogfight. Fortunately, we've been able to find a way to come out on top, now 4 times in a row. Our kids are unbelievably resilient. And I'm just so proud of their resiliency, because winning close games really says a lot about your heart and your desire. And our kids they played so hard tonight, and I was proud of them.
Well, it was a good game to do, I'll tell you that much. Eastmont, of course, is victorious. They beat the Panthers 10-7. Other action from Friday night: Cascade clobbered Quincy, Moses Lake edged Cashmere, Chelan got by Omak, Pateras edged Bridgeport. Elmira, Cooley, Heartline, Simon, Garfunkel had no problems with Aniat, and Brewster topped Tenasket 38-9. To the soccer pitch we go. Eastmont used a strong offensive attack. They are now 5-0 on the season. They beat Cascade Saturday 3-0. Sebastian Moraga, Matt Wiesen with the call, again, right here on the NCW Live channel.
Brown. Good through ball that time. Interesting maneuver. Goal, 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 goal. Nice shot. A bit of a miscue there for the back line of the Kodiaks, and Miss Kendall Flanagan opens the scoring. Matt Wiesen.
Yeah, the back line was pretty flat there and had some room in behind, and that ball did get on through. And
right-footed shot. Oh, my Yes! Oh my goodness, and a stunner! And a rare miscue by Miss Fernandez results in the second goal for the Eastmont Wildcats. Good open ball that time. Praiser shot across. Oh my goodness. Top class maneuver. What a touch that time, and it was Ms. Riley Fisher sinking it in with all the calm in the world, making it 3-0. What a move.
It took a tricky little hop right before it got to Miss Fisher, and she was wide open, had all the time in the world, but usually those are the toughest ones to put away.
Nicely done, Eastmont. Again, 3-0 the final. Other finals from the pitch on Saturday. Wenatchee blanked Kashmir. Ephrata stopping Warden. Quincy shut out Omak. Okanagan 6-0 over Brewster. Waluke edging Chelan. Bridgeport got by Liberty Bell. To volleyball we go. Wenatchee topped both Omak and Quincy. Moses Lake over Cascade. Eastmont also topped the Kodiaks as well. Brewster beat both Royal and Tonasket, and Liberty Bell shut out Waluke and Manson. To the B school scores. Waterville Mansfield over Soap Lake and Antioch. Antioch bounced back to beat Soap Lake. Wilson Creek topped Bridgeport. Pateras down to both Bridgeport and Wilson Creek. And Elmira, Cooley, Heartline, Simon de Garfunkel. They had trouble with Orville and Moses Lake Christian. They lost in both games 3-0. For the first time in program history, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, the men, are the #1 overall seed. In the NCAA tournament, Gonzaga was announced as the #1 seed in the Western Region bracket during Selection Sunday. The Bulldogs will take on the winner of Norfolk State and Appalachian State Saturday at 6:20 on TBS. The two small schools will play as part of the first 4 to get into the tournament. That happens on Thursday. Iowa, Kansas, and Virginia also seated in the same bracket as Gonzaga. They're 26-0. The Bulldogs, the 5th team to enter March Madness unbeaten since the 1976 Indiana Hoosiers. Gonzaga's best finish, of course, national runner-up when they lost the national championship game to North Carolina back in 2017. By the way, Eastern Washington University, they're in the tournament. They won the Big Sky Championship. The Eagles are a 14 seed. They'll take on Kansas. Where Gonzaga women will play, we don't know. The women's bracket will be announced later on today. And the Mariners came up with a 5-4 win against Milwaukee in Cactus League play on Sunday. It was a 5-run 5th inning that did the job. Jack Reinheimer started the inning off with a solo home run, and then Kyle Lewis followed with a 2-run double. Seattle improves its preseason record to 4-5-5. Yusei Kikuchi, he looked pretty good on the mound. He recorded 6 strikeouts in 3 1/3 innings. Seattle will host Arizona today in Peoria at 1:10, 17 days until opening day of the baseball season. And those are just some of the games that people are playing at 28 minutes after the hour on this Monday. I had 3 obscure holidays to choose from. Today is the Ides of March. We'll get to that in a little bit. Today is National Shoe the World Day, but this obscure holiday I'm going to be participating in. It's National Napping Day. It's always observed the day after the return of daylight saving time. I hate daylight saving time. Who's kidding who? It messes up a lot of people, some people more than others. But napping is a good way to catch up on your lack of sleep. Fun facts about naps. Naps of about a half an hour are the best way to go to improve alertness, short-term alertness. You don't want to over-nap, I guess is the best way to put it. Napping 3 times a week will decrease your risk of heart disease by 37%. That's pretty impressive. Naps can improve performance by 34%. In ancient Rome, everybody took a nap after lunch. That was just the way you did it. 60 million Americans are sleep deprived at any one time. Humans are the only mammals that can plan a nap or delay a nap, and just thinking about taking a nap can lower your blood pressure. I will be participating in today's obscure holiday. By the time I get used to daylight saving time, we switch back to standard time in November. Today in history, the Ides of March. Bad day for Jerry Caesar. Oh, real bad day. Look at the famous painting of the assassination of Julius Caesar. There's no blood. And like 8 people stabbed him to death, no blood. March 15th, 44 BC, 2,065 years ago, Julius Caesar, the dictator of the Roman Republic, stabbed to death by Brutus, Longinus, another Brutus, and a bunch of other Roman senators. The Ides of March. Julius Caesar met his maker on this date 2,065 years ago. Happy birthday to Maine. Vacation land. Maine is 201 years old today. Became the 23rd state on this date. There's the flag of Maine. Pretty cool, I think. May joined the Union March 15th, 1820. It is known as vacation land. The state song of Maine is called the State Song of Maine. Maine, of course, is the only state that shares its border with just one other state. Now, as the crow flies, the Maine coastline is about 250 miles, but if you factor in the contours of the coast, it actually stretches about 3,500 miles because it's very craggy, and that number jumps up to 550 miles of coastline if you count all little islands along the coast of Maine. 124 million pounds of lobster are harvested every year in Maine. That's 90% of the supply of lobster in this country. The official state animal of Maine is the moose. There are 78,000 moose in Maine. That's more than any other state in the lower 48. Of course, Alaska has a lot more moose than anybody, as you might imagine. And there are no billboards in Maine. They are banned. It's a beautiful state, and it's 201 years old today. And finally, symbolics.com. What does that mean? Well, 36 years ago today, March 15th, 1985, 36 years ago today, the first internet domain name is registered. Symbolics.com. Registered as the very first internet domain name on the state in 1985. Symbolics declared bankruptcy and closed their doors on May 7th, 1996. Birthdays. We always do presidents. The 7th president of the United States, Andrew Jackson, was born in the state in 1767, died at the age of 78 in 1845, volunteered in the Revolutionary War at the age of 14. He was a gambler. He bet on cockfighting. He was a lawyer, a prosecutor, a member of the House, a member of the Senate, a judge. He made his fortune in slaves, racehorses, and land speculation. And of course, he became a national hero in the War of 1812. He was the only president who was wholly a first-born generation American. All of his forebears were foreign-born, and everybody born after him was second-born. Both North Carolina and South Carolina claim to be the birthplace of Andrew Jackson, but there are historians who contend that Andrew Jackson was born at sea while the ship was sailing from Ireland to America in 1767. And the very first assassination attempt on any president happened against Andrew Jackson back in 1835. An insane house painter who considered himself the rightful heir to the British throne tried two pistols at Jackson from a distance of only 6 feet. Both pistols misfired. He was unhurt. Andrew Jackson, born in the state in 1767. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the 96th Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court, who died at the age of 87 back in September for this state in 1934. Going to take a break. When we come back, Mike McKnighty's got an opinion, and then my conversation with Eric West, the marketing director of Link. Time for you to take that survey if you haven't done it already. You're watching Wake Up in Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Live channel.
Take on the new year in a new Ford from Pat Armstrong Ford. From premium grade muscle to unparalleled performance. Take on any payload. The all-new 2021 Ford F-150 at Pat Armstrong Ford. Take on any adventure. Take on every thrill. The all-new 2021 Bronco Sport and 2021 Mustang Mach-E. Built to take on every resolution at Pat Armstrong Ford. We are community strong in East Wenatchee.
Save Mart is the place to go if you are in the market for home furnishings. They have rows and rows of sofas, love seats, recliners, and chairs in a vast array of fabrics and colors. Name brands include Ashley, Best, and Stanton. With pictures, lamps, and tables to complement your new furniture, Save Mart is a one-stop shop. Save Mart offers 12-month special financing on approval of credit. Save Mart also offers free delivery, setup, and haul away in their service area. Serving the Wenatchee Valley for over 50 years. Located on North Wenatchee Avenue or visit online at savemart.net.
Hey, this is Mike Mad Dog McKnighty, and everybody's entitled to my opinion. Now, during this coronavirus thing, many churches canceled in-person services and they went online instead. Now, there were some, though, who claimed they would not stop meeting together, that God would protect them, yada, yada. This, of course, sent Facebook pundits crazy, basically throwing all Christians into the same category as mindless boobs. Well, the fact is, most of us do not believe that praying to God is some kind of magic trick. If Jesus were here, he'd probably tell us to wash our hands, be careful about who we're being exposed to, who might be infected. And oh yeah, he'd also tell you to stop hoarding toilet paper. This is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and that's my opinion.
We should have done this months ago.
Yeah. Wonder where that power line came from.
Wait, I've seen this before. Doug, right?
What's up? I don't know, maybe a tree fell on the line?
It's cool. I'll just go move it.
Ooh, that's a bad idea. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it an 11.
Yikes.
Yeah, 911, we've got a down power line.
That was close.
You don't have to be a member to enjoy the view and dine in style at Highlander Bar and Grill located at the beautiful Highlander Golf Course in East Wenatchee. Highlander Grill offers breakfast, lunch, and dinner with dine-in or takeout options. Highlander Bar and Grill's friendly staff is here to serve you 7 days a week. Call for reservations Friday night prime rib dinner. Contact Shalane, Highlander Grill's site coordinator, to schedule your corporate event or special occasion today.
Welcome back to Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. I am Dan Kuntz. Back in August of 2019, voters that constitute the area that Link Transit serves rather overwhelmingly approved some increases to make Link more efficient and better, and more routes, Sunday services. A lot of these things have already begun to make their presence felt. It passed overwhelmingly. 58% to 42% of the voters said we like Link and we want Link to keep going, and even maybe do a little better. And that's what we're here to talk about, because it's now time for you to chime in on routes and schedules and scenarios. And here to talk about that is Eric West with Link Transit. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming in and joining us. I appreciate it.
Good morning. Thank you. Great to be here.
It's good to see you. So the whole idea behind this is, and Eric and I were talking about this off camera, Link is not in the business to tell you what the routes are going to be. They want you, the Link users, to say, what would you like to see Link do as far as routes and services, maybe cutting some back and picking some up. And so they're going to ask you to take the survey, and that's what Eric is here to talk about. So the sales tax was improved. Some of those elements that were talked about when the sales tax was first floated back in August of 2019, that's already been implemented.
A few of them, yes.
Such as?
We started Sunday service in July of 2020. We increased a little bit of weekday service, just really moderately. But with the COVID thing going on, we really did not do what the full plan had called for. Just it wasn't, we didn't feel it was appropriate from a financial standpoint, nor was the ridership there to really justify adding a lot more service. Sunday service was something that was relatively easy to do, and we figured it would have a pretty big payback right away, which it has. So.
And now it's on to the next phase, which is what the riders want to see Link doing.
Exactly. We've had a consultant on board since about April of last year who's gone through our system really at a detailed level, looking at what's working, what's not, ways things that could be improved. And what they've come up with now are like 3 different scenarios of what service could look like. So we're asking for feedback on those, and they're actually, they're route by route, what the different routes that it currently exist, they may be adjusted, they may be changed slightly, they may be eliminated and replaced with something totally different. So we're asking for people to look at that survey, whether it's just at a couple routes or the whole thing, to see really what works for them on a detail level.
When COVID first broke out, one of the initial changes that was made to Link Transit to the riders was that a lot of the fares, if not all of them, were waived completely.
Exactly.
So I guess my question is, Eric, how does one know without an actual something like fares to give you a hard number? How do you know how many people are riding each route each day? How do you keep track of that without people actually paying fares?
We have, in late 2019, we installed a whole new system on our buses that's a GPS locator system, so we know where the buses are in real time. And a part of that project was automated passenger counters. So every time an individual gets on the bus or gets off, it's recorded automatically. So we can actually look at a vehicle in real time and know how many people are on that bus, which has been a great help during COVID because we have to limit the number of folks on the bus anyway. So we can say, okay, this route typically carries, X number of people, so do we need to add extra buses, things like that. And the passenger, the customer, can go in using the app and see how many people are on the bus too, prior to when they're getting on it. So that's how we track it.
That makes perfect sense to me. Prior to the COVID world that we live in, one of the routes that I noticed that was always busy, those were the commuter routes, the park and rides located in various locations, Old Station, Leavenworth. A lot of people living in the outskirts of the valley but live in the Wenatchee Valley, and they were taking fairly big advantage of the park and rides, parking at the lots and taking the bus in.
Yeah, we had a lot of folks who were coming from Leavenworth or Chelan into Wenatchee to either go to work or school, things like that, and the opposite was true as well. There was a number of people who lived in the Wenatchee area who worked in some of those outlying communities, primarily the hospitality folks, things like that, because the cost of living in those smaller, tourist communities is extremely high, so it made sense for them, to live here and take the bus. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of that go away with COVID. The people have either not been working or their jobs have been curtailed or things like that. So there's some changes that have happened that have just really been out of our control that have affected ridership there. So we're looking to bring some of that back with the post-COVID world, with some improved services and shorter travel times and changes and things like that. So,
well, let's talk about the survey. It's easy for you to take. It's ready to go. You can log on anytime you want and take it at your own convenience. There it is up on the screen. Eric, walk us through what you're looking for the key messages and maybe some of the scenarios that you're talking about. That's available for you to chime in on the survey as you see here.
Yeah, so each scenario that they've put together has kind of a specific purpose. Some of them, one scenario is to, improve coverage. Another one is to make trips shorter. And I can't recall quite what the third one might be, but they're all outlined very detailed on the survey. Basically what we're trying to do with this whole effort is make transit more efficient, both in terms of operating it and efficiency in terms of from the user's perspective. It's more competitive with the vehicle. It's easier to access. The routes may be a little closer to your home or your work. They may come by either place more often, so you don't have as long of a wait, things like that. It's more accessible. It's just, there's a lot of things that go into that convenience equation. But really, we're wanting to make transit more accessible, more convenient, more easy for everybody to use, whether you're a kid, a working guy or gal, or a senior, disabled, really anybody. So.
Is this survey designed specifically, again, we're talking Eric West from Link Transit, specifically for those people who are regular Link riders, or maybe even, or maybe some people who, gee, I'd ride Link more if it was more convenient for me, so maybe I should chime in on this too. Who would you like to see take this survey?
Short answer, Dan, everybody. Everybody who has an interest in transit, the current users especially, because the impacts to the service changes will affect them more likely than not. But folks who, they would say, I would ride it if, the bus came by my house more often, or it came by earlier. I need to be at work at 7, so I need a bus that comes by my house at 6:30. Or I need to get to a place that I can't on the bus, things like that. So all these different scenarios offer a variety of changes that may or may not work for people. So what we're looking for is kind of the best of the best. We're not going to take one of these scenarios in total and implement it. It could be a little bit of number 1, a little bit of number 2, and a little bit of number 3, kind of whatever that floats to the top as a result of people's feedback. So.
What do you hear from some of the major employers who depend on Link to get their employees to their packing shed or their manufacturing concern, be it Stamilt or the Wenatchee School District or Confluence Health, some of these large employers, do they have some input in some of this?
We're hoping that their employees really dive deep into this. We have had a partnership with Confluence Health for, I think, going on about 9 years, where they provide transit passes to all their employees who wish to have one. The biggest thing we hear from those folks is, either late night service, after like 8 o'clock, getting back to Leavenworth or Chelan for those folks who work a 12-hour shift, or the amount of time it takes to get from East Wenatchee to Central Washington Hospital. Currently, it requires at least 1 to 2 transfers, and it could take 45 minutes or close to an hour to make that trip, which most people can probably make in 15 or 20 in a car, depending on where in East Wenatchee they're living. So there's things like that we're hoping we can improve out of this. Crunch Pack in Cashmere has always been a big user of our service. Again, we have a fare program with them, and just because of the pay scale at that place, a little bit lower income, heavily Hispanic, they're predisposed to using transit. They are a very big user of this service, so we're hoping that they can look at this and say, boy, some of these changes would be great for our employees, would perhaps make it easier for more of them to use it, reduce parking issues and improve employee attendance and things like that. So
there are 3 scenarios, service scenarios. Just briefly, I'll mention what they are. Scenario 1 is improving services that already exist, the most popular routes. How do you make those sustained and continue to go? Scenario 2 is providing coverage to many parts of Chelan and Douglas counties by adding some new routes, possibly. And scenario 3, the one I find the most fascinating, kind of ties in with what we were just talking about, focuses on connecting destinations in Chelan and Douglas counties, but cutting down on transfers, having to get off one bus and get on another bus, and then get off that bus and go on another bus. Those are the 3 that you're concentrating on.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it all boils down to making it easy. If you have to change buses and you're not sure if the bus that you're waiting on is going to get there on time, it's a barrier to people's use. Transit's not something people are born with the innate ability and so forth to use. So making it as simple and seamless and easy as we can is really our primary goal in this, to get those folks to try us out, see what it does for them, and then hopefully they like it enough that they continue to ride on a somewhat regular or even high frequency basis. So
Link's headquarters is actually out in Old Station. That's where the bus garages are, the administration offices, maintenance, and things like that. But the hub of the Link service is not too far from our studios, the Link transfer station in downtown Wenatchee. Is there thought of maybe a secondary, smaller transfer station for those people who need to get from point A to point B but don't have to go to downtown to do it?
We've thought about that a little bit, and it's really been more conversation and just kind of high-level thinking of having someplace in the North Wenatchee end, perhaps around Valley North Center, things like that a little more, the buses coming from the north end could all connect with buses coming from the south end there. Whether it makes sense to do it, we don't know. It would take a fair amount of work to decide, to determine if that is something that's really worthy of the effort and the expense and so forth. So, but we're looking at some routes that instead of stopping at Columbia Station, they perhaps just through trip from East Wenatchee to Walmart, for example. It might be just a flyer stop where it just comes in, kind of touch and go. People get on and off rather than the bus wait and connect with another route there. So things like that just eliminates that need to get off one vehicle and get on another one, and perhaps wait for 5 or 10 minutes while everything connects and then disperses like they currently do. So.
I know a lot of your coach operators. They're all pros, by the way. It's not an easy job to drive a Link bus, but the coach operators are professionals to the core. They're also a bit outgoing because you kind of have to be.
Sure, it's a
when you deal
job.
with the general public. Do you talk to your coach operators? Do they come back with some feedback saying, I've heard for some riders, and they say, wouldn't this be more convenient? Or as I drive around, I find this might be problematic. What do you hear from your coach operators?
We do. We have a really open door policy at Link where our coach operators are welcome to comment or make suggestions on specific things that would improve a route. Sometimes they're just the pass through from a passenger. But yeah, we're always looking for comments that would help improve our service. Obviously we can't implement everything on like an immediate basis, but we kind of wait until we have a bunch of those and we look at them from all angles and say, okay, this really makes sense. Do we need to take this stop out because it's unsafe, or there's a better place to put it that would be easier for the bus to get in and out? And with traffic changes in our valley, we're always kind of having to look at things and re-examine and make sure that it's working for us operationally as well as the passengers. So it's an ongoing balancing act, so to speak.
Well, being a resident in the downtown core area, the two things I've noticed that I really appreciate from Link is the Sunday service seems to be going quite well. That was a big thing.
That was a big thing.
You know, I work on Sundays and I still got to get to my job and I can't get there because there's no public transportation.
Exactly.
Now there is.
Yep.
And the new clean buses, I'm liking those. You know, the old spitting the diesel gunk out of the back of that. Hurts to that, but these new clean buses are phenomenal.
Yeah, we have 10 electric vehicles in our fleet, which it's been a long struggle. We've been working on the electric project for, as I can recall, about 10 or 11 years, and you know we really went through the ringer on it. But the current vehicles we're operating, we've had them in our fleet for I believe about 2 years. Some of them not quite that long. We got them in kind of in phases, but they're working exceptionally well. We've had a good chance to test them in all kinds of weather, and they're proving to be very reliable. And the drivers like them, the passengers like them. So it's been finally a big win for us after a long uphill battle. So, yeah.
A couple more items with Eric West, and we'll cut him loose. He's a busy guy. We mentioned coach operators. How you doing on that? You need help? You need help wanted signs out there for some coach operators?
We're not hiring currently. We've been hiring coach operators pretty steadily the last couple of years. You know, we have some attrition, just aging folks who are leaving. And with our expanded service last summer, I think we brought in 18 or 20 new ones. So with this expanded service here, that's going to, you know, when we do this expansion based on the survey results, it probably won't really start happening until sometime in 2022. And it will be very likely phased in over a 6 or 8 or maybe even 12-month period or longer, depending on the scope of changes. So we will very likely need additional coach operators at some point in that process. When, it's hard to know. That's a whole other department that I'm, you know, try to stay out of.
As Eric mentioned, the folks at Link would like to have everybody take the survey, which is available for you online. If you just go to Link's website, it's right there. Doesn't take a great deal of time, but your input is what counts because you're the customers, not Link. Where do we go from here? What do people do to take the survey? Give me a timeline, all that stuff all that information that people need to know that we might have not touched on yet.
Right now, the consultant has developed a microsite that is www.movinglinkforward.com, and that's where the survey can be accessed, as well as some information on the study that they've done. They have I believe it's a 300-page document, so you know something to read over your coffee for the next 2 weeks or so. But it really lays out the current state of Link Transit, you know, looking at our operations, our vehicles, all sorts of things about our organization. And then the survey link is there as well. There is also on the 17th of March, Wednesday, next week at noon, we're having a Facebook Live event where people can kind of have some two-way conversations with us and the consultants to get specific questions answered. So just follow us on our Facebook page, Link Transit, and we'll put some notices out on that event here, just kind of to remind people starting later this week that that's coming up at noon on the 17th, so they can log in, view that, get questions answered, and just learn a few more details that they may have specifically, you know, for their situation. So,
as the valley continues to grow, and it will continue to grow, the Wenatchee Valley, the Upper Valley, Chelan, Leavenworth, Cashmere, the need for public transportation is going to increase, not decrease.
It is. I mean, just talking to people here this last few months, there's building projects going in everywhere, and not small ones. You know, hundreds of homes going in. I think I heard yesterday that Douglas County is looking at 3,000 new residences being built in the next several years.
And almost all of them in the greater East Wenatchee area.
Yeah. And Wenatchee has 2 or 3 on the planning phase of, you know, several hundred or more. So that's a lot of new people in town and a lot of cars, and they're not building more roads with those houses. So we're hopeful that we can build a system that will help accommodate all those new folks moving into our valley. Some could be retired. Some could have families with kids that need a way to get to school or jobs or whatever. So we're really wanting to build a system that works for the long haul for our valley as it grows. it's going to grow a lot in the next 5 to 10 years, it looks like. So,
And I know any number of people who say it's a no-brainer for me, Eric, because I don't have to worry about car insurance, and I don't have to worry about putting gas in my car and maintenance or having a garage. I can take the bus to work or to pleasure, and I can play on my phone and read my Kindle, and let somebody else do the driving. It saves me a ton of money and a bunch of headaches.
it does. There's been studies done out there by a variety of different agencies and organizations that say that transportation is the second biggest cost to a household over housing. Even if you can save $5,000 or $6,000 or to $8,000 a year by not having that second or third car in your family, that's a big chunk of dough. That's a couple nice vacations, or an addition to your house, or putting kids through college. A variety of different things that money could be better spent on than a vehicle. So, and it just takes cars off the road, which we know our roadways with COVID have been relatively open, but we know when things get back to normal, it could be less desirable to be driving. So
Whether you use Link or not, it is part of the lifeblood that makes this area go. MovingLinkForward.com, MovingLinkForward.com. Take the survey, go through the scenarios, give them your input, and then they will go forward from there. Next time you want to pay me a visit, all you got to do is give me a buzz. Eric, I'd love to have you on.
Appreciate it, Dan. Thank you very much.
One last question before I cut you loose. How long does the survey stay on before it goes away?
We're asking for folks to get their feedback in by April 2nd, so just about a month.
Just about a month. Yeah. So it's don't kick the can down the road.
Got plenty of time, but
but do it.
But do it, yeah.
But do it. Yep, absolutely.
Great.
Eric West from Link Transit. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. We'll be right back.
You love to help others. You need a solid career. You can have it all with help from Charter College. Our 10-month medical assistant program prepares you to work in healthcare settings like physician offices, rehab centers, and clinics. You'll learn to take patient vitals, assist with exams, administer injections, and maintain medical records. When you're ready to launch a rewarding healthcare career, visit chartercollege.edu, because we work to get you to work.
By working together as a community, we can all play a part in promoting children's well-being and strengthening families. April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. Chelan Douglas CASA is dedicated to supporting families and reducing the risk of child abuse and neglect. Join us in our community-wide Pinwheel project and help keep kids safe. If you suspect a child is being abused or neglected, please call 1-866-363-4276.
Doghouse Motorsports just won Best Motorsports Store for the 7th year in a row. Is it the great facility? Is it the fantastic products? Or is it?
I'm Bobby.
And I'm Tamer.
I'm Mike. And I'm Glenn.
Hi, I'm Todd.
I'm Jeff.
And this is the Doghouse Service Team.
Hi, I'm Dee.
And I'm Dwayne.
And I'm Kathy.
Come on in and experience the Doghouse.
Are you in the doghouse?
And we are back on this 15th day of March, halfway through the month, but the last week of winter. The spring equinox is Saturday morning at 2:37 a.m. I will be asleep from the National Weather Service. Here's what we got for you this week. Mixture of clouds and sun. As the day progresses, the clouds will be thinning out. We had that weak ridge come through on Sunday, cooled us down, clouded us up. It's exiting the area. We'll get up to about 53 degrees, 31 for the overnight low. It's just about normal. 53 and 31, about normal for this time of the year. It's very typical mid-March weather is what we're going to be dealing with. Sunshine on Tuesday, high of 54. We have a weak ridge of high pressure. It's going to kind of amplify throughout the course of the day today. It'll be well entrenched by Tuesday and Wednesday. Then it's going to break down and allow some low pressure disturbances to push into the region come Thursday and Friday. So you notice Thursday, still fairly mild, above normal with 57 and then 56 on Friday. But now we start talking about maybe a raindrop or two on Thursday and Friday, and certainly they're going to see some snow in the mountain passes, it looks like. Saturday, quite a bit of sunshine and a high of 54, and then Sunday is the first full day of spring, very March-like, partly cloudy and a high of 53. On the mountain passes right now, you're fine, you're good to go. Traction tires are still advised on Stevens, doesn't look too bad to me. No advisories or restrictions on I-90 or on Blewett. pass. So there you go. Have a great Monday. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.